Yeah, that video is draft. It's not the real end product yet, but I hope you enjoyed it. Showed you a few more pictures, especially of that Forest Park building, as it is used every day, all day, to reach our students through Christian counseling as well as our neighboring community. About 75% of the people who come to New Hope Counseling Center come there from the community, about 25% from the campus of ACC currently. And we also have telehealth, and we're actually doing telehealth across the state of Alaska with a lot of people who can't find in their village a place to get Christian counseling. So my wife Debbie is very, very busy, and her staff of 11 that are running the largest Christian counseling center on the entire Kenai Peninsula. In fact, it's the only Christian counseling center on the entire Kenai Peninsula, right? So I thought for this afternoon, about the next 6 hours, I'd like to share with you some stories of amazing things that God has been doing through the ministry of ACC, and then Nathan's going to come up and share in a little bit as well about his experience. But I want to share just one of the other miracle stories that Richard reminded me of a minute ago. But this gym project has been percolating for at least 10, 15 years. Our students in the village, when it's winter for 8 of your 12 months, and you have nothing to do in a village, everybody goes to the school and plays basketball. Some students wrestle, some play volleyball, but basketball is king in Alaska. So our students arrive at ACC, they get off the van the first day and they go, oh, there's a dormitory, there's a chapel, there's a library, there's a classroom. It does a Biden, and it goes, where is the gym? And we say, sorry. And we have come to the decision that in order to recruit more students, and then more importantly, to retain them through graduation, they need an outlet in those 8 months of winter to run around and to play and to laugh and to compete and to get out of their dorms and off of their stupid phones and find time to just have fun. Right now, we pay a local Kenai Rec Center money for every student that goes there. We have to drive them a bunch of miles in our van in snowstorms. It'd be so much easier just to have it on our campus. But when we built the plan for the project, we knew about the urinal miracle that happened, and we had the property had been purchased by a friend of ACC. When I went to buy it from him, he just donated the whole thing. $52,000 is all that it cost for that 4.5 acres. I'm sure you can do the same thing here in Muskegon. And right on the shore probably, right? And I said, okay, we need to figure out engineers, architects, that kind of thing, and get a price on what this is going to cost us to build. And the first price came in at $17 million. And that was through an architect who had somebody that does price calculations. And I said, well, that's not going to happen. They didn't take away the volunteer labor aspect of it. I said, take away the labor volunteer. Okay, now it's $12 million. And I said, well, I tell you what, I think we can build it for $3 million. And everybody laughed at us. And I will tell you, pre-COVID, I was right. Post-COVID, prices have gone up. I'm not as right as I was. And it's going to cost us more than $3 million. I don't know how we're going to get there yet. But the issue was, our first engineer told us we need to have about 6 to 8 inches maybe of gravel to build the building on, cement poured foundation. And $20,000 was the goal for that. We easily had $20,000 for that out of the $3 million. But the next engineer came along and said, no. You need to have 4 feet off the ground, 18,000 square feet. Now you start doing the math on that $20,000, the best bid we had was our neighbor behind us, $400,000. That's a lot more than 20 in my math. And he says to me, he's a Christian man, he said, but you know what, Keith? Your land butts up against our land. I'm selling all the gravel. Why don't you just mine your own land? And I said, what? Wait, you can do that? Then he said, yeah, if it's under an acre, you don't even have to have a permit. Can you imagine somebody out here on McHenry Street starting to build a gravel pit and nobody care? Nobody cares where I live. So we had an excavator donated to us to start digging it up. Then we had a dump truck. A volunteer from Minnesota was there, and he said, well, we need a dump truck. He went out and bought us a dump truck. And it's on campus today. And then somebody said, well, we need a loader too. And we had a family call me. They said, we need a loader. That was like at 8:30 in the morning. I said, well, unless a miracle happens and somebody calls and says, we got money to buy a loader, we can't we can't buy a loader. 10:30 a.m. my phone rings. Guy from Edmonds, Washington. My wife and I were just having devotions, he said, and we were praying for ACC and just felt led to call you. Keith, what do you need? And I said, well, how about $45,000 for a loader? Check's in the mail. Cool, huh? So now we got a loader, but we need a bulldozer. Well, guess what? The guy that owns the gravel pit behind us, he donates the use of a dozer to us as much as we needed it for, a D5 Cat. And then we needed a compactor. You had to roll it, you got to compact it down. He's got one of those too, and gave that to us to use all during the project. So we basically built that 4-foot high, 18,000 square foot bed of rock for less than $20,000, because we just had to pay for a few fixes and a bunch of diesel. Did about 400 trips back and forth, hauling it on our property. So then we had that. Then we had to figure out, okay, now we needed the $3 million. Where's that going to come from? So the very first ask that I made was to a man I had never met before. He's a $5,000 a year donor in Vancouver, Washington. I knew that he had some capacity to give, and I have a friend who is his buddy who said, we'll all meet together over lunch and you can present the project of the gym. Well, I thought I'm going to bring a big gift. And so I got a box and I got all kinds of ice in it, and I put in halibut and scallops and salmon and crab. And I spent a few dollars, and I carried it on the plane with me down to Vancouver, Washington. I walked in the door with this package with a bow on it. I said, hey, thank you for your, about that time, about 18 years of giving $5,000 a year. I want to give you, he says, well, thank you, but I'm Seventh-day Adventist. I don't eat any meat. Always do your homework on your major donors. And so he gave it away to other people, but he appreciated it. And after meeting with him in the afternoon and talking lunch and stuff, he said, well, what do you need? And I said, well, we have this list of gifts that people can give from this point down to this point. Do you find yourself somewhere in between those 2 points? I'll get back to you tomorrow. Next day he calls and he says, I tell you what, I'll do the one at the top. $1 million gift. But you have to raise $1 million in the next 4 months in order for me to double it. This was December 20th. I wasn't going to raise the money in December. Everybody's at Christmas. January, nobody wants to talk to you. So we started with the ACC staff. We went to the ACC Board of Trustees. And we went to our President's Advisory Council, which is another group of folks that support the college. And we just only invited those people to consider a gift, and 99 people gave $1.3 million. So now we're at $2.3 million that we need of the $3 million. And the rest of it has come in. We got a grant of $400,000 from the Rasmussen Foundation and $500,000 from the Murdoch Trust. So we were there just in a short amount of time. But that was pre-COVID. And again, things went up. So the first concern I had was the steel. I know this building is made out of steel. Our gym is made out of steel, and it comes from Visalia, California. Well, steel went up during COVID 35%. And we had made a decision, to buy it. We had a price tag, but there's always those clauses in the contracts in case of active war or a natural catastrophe or whatever, they can get out of it, right? So I caught a hold of our local guy in town who had sold us the building at his cost to get a hold of the company Visalia to see what they're going to jack us up for. The man happens to be a Christian. He goes to his boss. He says, there's this little Christian college up in Alaska that serves Alaska Native young people. What can we do to not have to throw this 35%? He said, just charge them the 2019 rate. Hundreds of thousands of dollars of savings. But then you got to get it to Alaska. And from Visalia, it's kind of hard to walk it on your shoulders. So we had to pay for shipping to the port in Tacoma, Washington. And then from Tacoma, it gets on a barge and goes up to Anchorage, via Vancouver, Anchorage. And then we have to have a trucking company bring it down. It's 13 loads of steel to get the main structure down to us. And I just thought, this is going to cost us an arm and a leg to ship this much. I had no idea. One of my good friends and a friend of the college is the Senate President, Peter Machicki. He's from our community, our area, in the state legislature. And I took Peter aside and I said, would you be willing to talk to the big three guys that run these transport companies, the barges up to Alaska? I don't know if you have them here, but Linden, Tote, and Matson. Those are our three biggies. And he said, I'll check. A month went by, nothing. I was down in Juneau at the Capitol. What have you found out, Peter? I haven't talked to anybody. June rolling around now. Session is out. He's home. Nope, haven't done anything yet. He happens then to be going to a meeting. All three of the guys are at the meeting. He says, hey, ACC, and they donated 9 of the entire shiploads of those 13 to Alaska on the barge for us, free of charge. Again, tens of thousands of dollars savings. So we believe, after the urinal miracle story, after the gravel story, after the steel story, the $1 million, I think God wants us to build a gym. What do you think? That's where we're at. And so the gym today is all enclosed. We had our first event in it illegally a couple of weeks ago. This is being taped, right? You can cut this part out later on. We had our staff retreat on campus, and for lunch I said, everybody grab your jackets, we're going to lunch. Like, what are you gonna? We all walked over to the gym, and we had lights set up in there, and tables and chairs and a buffet, and we had our lunch in the gym. Nothing but steel and cement. That's all we got. But we had lunch in there together, pretty fun. So this summer, all the the air handler units are going in, the heating system's going in, the sprinkling system is going in, and we're building 2 wood stick buildings around it to house our 17,000 gallon tank for the sprinkler system. That's a building boat to itself, believe it or not. Then we have a storage room, and then we're building bathrooms and lockers, sauna, and weight rooms on the other building on the other side. And that'll get us to a certain point. But our goal is by January 1, when our students come back after Christmas, that they're going to be able to come in and play basketball in a heated building, completely enclosed, with bathrooms, 6 hoops, a cement floor, and no bleachers, no time clocks, no frills, but they're going to have basketballs and a floor and 6 hoops to play on. You think they'll come? Yeah. They're going to be excited to show up, I think, and do that. So that's our promise we made to them, and our teams are working hard this summer. 220 guests coming up this summer to do that, praise the Lord. Nathan, come on up here. I want to introduce you again to Nathan Stump. Nathan showed up on our campus a bunch of years ago as a resident supervisor, which means that you live, sleep, eat, and drink, and minister to the young people on the dorm floor. He lived on the floor with the students. And then he decided he wanted to get married. And he left me. And he went to California, went to a little school called Pepperdine in Malibu. And his wife, attorney, going through school there. And they spent some time there. And partway through, you're not going to tell the story, are you? Okay, partway through, at the end, she found out that her last year of lawyer school, she could do kind of like an internship with an attorney's office for the last year and continue to go online and do work. So Nathan calls me up and says, or she calls me up. Who called me up?
I think I did.
You think you did?
Yeah.
Do you know any attorneys in town who would take on my wife for an externship kind of a situation? And I said, I know just the guy. And I called up Blaine. And I said, Blaine, do you have any need for her? He says, well, yeah, I'd love to meet her. So she got hired, and then the director of student services position opened up that Nathan was very, very qualified for. And I invited Nathan to be our full-time director, and he showed up with his newly wed wife, and they spent the next bunch of years living on campus and then off campus, full-time both in ministry, serving our students. And so let's give a big Muskegon welcome to Nathan Stump. And where are you from? You got to tell them that.
I'm from St. John's, Michigan, a little north of Lansing, so an hour and 33 minutes drive. There you have it. Depending on how fast you're going. So yeah, it's kind of incredible. I was just also thinking, I'm going to talk a little bit about ACC. Oh, thank you.
Yep.
Should I turn this off? Nope. Oh, both. Okay. All right. I'm going to talk a little about ACC, but I also just want to talk about the power of how one person can change your life. And it is kind of bizarre. I met Keith when I was single as an RS, and the ministry opportunities and doors that open, even just the mentorship Keith has given me. And this is just an encouragement for young people. Like for anybody in this room, if you meet a young person, because obviously Keith's a lot older than me, way older, but how through mentorship you really can change somebody's life. And Keith has connected me in so many ways with just the wisdom of doing ministry. And also my wife still works for the same person remotely. I mean, it's just incredible. So don't underestimate the value of ministry opportunity you have just when you literally build a relationship with one person. Anyway, so yeah, I was the director of student life at ACC, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the investment that anybody who gives their time or resources to ACC, what a difference it makes. So if I know some of you have been to Alaska and some of you have met our students, which is great. Most of our students, I mean, statistics are awful. I don't think I've met a single female student who hasn't been sexually abused. I mean, it's wild. Most of our students have been abused. A lot of them, a lot have tried to end their life before coming to school. And when they come to school at ACC, literally when they get off the bus, I mean, we've had students come off like high or drunk or about to end their life. I mean, it's wild. And some of them, through the course of getting to know them, have told me and told several of us, this is the first place ever that I experienced love without an agenda. And that's wild. I don't like, it's, I don't want to go into like all the stories because the students are amazing, they're resilient students, but I can't oversay how traumatized they've been. And to someone like me who grew up in Michigan, yes, there is really hard situations here, and there is hard family situations, but it is such a different playing field when you get to Alaska, especially once some of our students tried to end their lives, and I tried to connect them with hospital systems, and I think I found out there's only 25, at the time, 25 beds in the state of Alaska for mental health situations. Like, it's just such an under-resourced state. It's incredible. So you suddenly find yourself kind of on the mission field and realize that, oh my goodness, if this student, if something really bad happens, there's not really a whole lot of resources. And that's where ACC like stands in the gap, because they have a counseling center that Forest Park was the initial help build. And I personally, so many students, I'll be meeting with them or even just shooting basketballs and find out that day they were possibly going to try to end their life. And then you say, okay, let's walk to New Hope Counseling Center, and I'll get coffee with them, and I'll connect them with a counselor who can help them, and we'll build those relationships. That's one of the only resources that we can connect them with, because there's so few resources in the state of Alaska. So we're just so grateful for churches and individuals who come to ACC and give and volunteer, because I don't want to say there's nothing like it. I'm sure there is, but I don't know of anything like ACC, if that makes sense. We're so under-resourced, and it's such a breath of fresh air to have people who come up and help and donate and give their time and even just support us and give a relationship to us. And it's just so exciting because we've seen life change after life change. And a lot of those moments happen, like Keith was saying, on the basketball court. I've literally just been, and I'm terrible at basketball, been shooting basketballs with students, and they'll share what's going on in their life. And it's incredible what's happening. So it's just really exciting, and I just want to let you know that when you do give to ACC, like when I was the director, we literally had a whole fund just for taking students for coffee. Honestly, it was the best return on investment ever, because that's when students will open up their heart. And every day I got to get in the car with students, and they're incredibly open students. I mean, it's amazing. They will just share with you immediately what's going on in their life and how can we pray together, how can we help. And that was a direct result of people donating to the school and giving us that ability to take them for coffee and build a relationship. And this is true, obviously, of anywhere, but especially in Alaska Native culture, relationship is everything. So yeah, I live in Michigan now. I just moved back because my dad has some health issues and we wanted to be near family, but our heart is so near to Alaska, and I have been the direct recipient of many people in this room who've given to the college and been able to do that ministry there. So I just thank you guys so much. And if you have any questions, again, I'm not going to share like super specific stories, but if you have any questions afterward, I'll be happy to share.
Thanks, brother. Yeah. We not only miss Nathan and his wife Hillary, but they have a little baby named Caleb who came into the world last year. We feel like our grandchild got ripped out from underneath us. So, but I spent some time with them last night. It was fun. One more story, and then we're going to take questions. I want to tell you a story that is near and dear to me about a student, and I can't use the name this time. Thank you. Thanks. I can't use the student's name, but I will tell you the story gladly. She comes from the village of Unalakleet, again, where the first missionary landed in 1887 with Richard Borgeson here. And she is one of 5. And the first time that somebody entered her room, she was 3 years old. 3 years old. I can't even fathom that. She came to ACC when she was 18 out of high school, and she honestly was one of the most discouraged students I had seen. Why did you come here? I asked her. I'll call her Mary just to give her a name. Mary, why did you come here? And she said, well, my sister made me, and I don't want to be here. That was like day one. Like, oh, great, here we go. And as the first semester started to unfold, Mary just got really kind of belligerent and angry. And you guys know who Eeyore is from Winnie the Pooh? I don't get anything my way. That was her. She was hard to be with. It's like hugging a porcupine. And we're getting like in toward November now, and I'm just kind of sick and tired of her attitude. And we actually, at one of our staff meetings, just talked about what do we do with Mary? And we said, well, we'll continue to love her and see where this goes. And one day, before Thanksgiving, she walks into my office, knocks on my door, walks, come on in. She says, I'm out of here. And I said, what do you mean you're out of here? She says, I'm leaving ACC. I'm like, oh, thank you, Jesus. No, I didn't say that, no. And I thought, well, why is that? She says, well, she says, I don't like the classes. I don't like the food. I have a sore bum, and you guys didn't get me a good chair to sit in that I asked for. And I don't like you, kind of a thing. And I'm out of here. I've already packed my room. I'm ready to go. And I said, wow, you sound like, where are you going to go? She said, I'm going back to Anchorage to be with my dad. Well, her dad's an alcoholic. DUIs, can't drive. But she has nowhere else to go, except back to that situation. And so I said, well, before you go, can I just pray for you? And like a lot of teenagers, she said, whatever. And I had this leather couch in my office that I've had all the years I've been there. It's a pretty holy couch. I've prayed many, many times for many, many students over many, many years. And I had her kneel down next to me on the couch. I prayed for her and for her future and for her time away from ACC. We got done, stood up with her, and I looked at her, and I said, Mary, I've got one more question for you. I said, have you ever been able to surrender your life to Jesus Christ so that he could help carry this burden that I know that you're carrying in your life? No, I haven't. And she turns around and walks out and slams the door. Now that's hard to take as a pastor, hard to take as a college president, but think about if I was her dad, how hard that would have been. And it was sad. We were watching her leave to go a place that she really shouldn't be. A week later, I'd been on a speaking trip. I came back a week later, walked into my office, just had all my bags with me. I was just dropping off some stuff. I hadn't seen my kids for a week. My wife, I just wanted to drop off. I just wanted to run home and get out of there, but I had to do something. And there's this note stuck under my door. And I look at the note and it says, call me, Mary, and it has her extension on it, back before cell phones. And I thought, I don't want to get into her. By the way, I thought she left. So I yelled at Irene next door, is Mary still here? Oh yeah, she's still here. Oh, I just want to go home, but doggone it, I'm a pastor. I better call her. So I just said, hey Mary, I'm just here for a few minutes, but I need to go. And I'm coming right down, she said. And I waited a little bit, and all of a sudden, and she walks in the door of my office. And she looks at me in the face and she says, Keith, I have been waiting all week for you to come home so you could introduce me to Jesus. And I said, make an appointment, come back next week, I'm busy right now. So we got on that couch right then and there, and we prayed, and stood up. She received Christ. She stood up and she looked at me with probably the third time I've seen her smile the whole semester, and walked out of my office a new creation. That young lady had been failing her classes too, like I shared about Ray earlier. She came back the second semester like a vengeance, did really well in her studies. Went and worked at our Covenant Bible Camp in Unalakleet for 4 weeks that summer, her home village, as a counselor for little kids. Came back, did our second year program, graduated, wants to go into mental health. So she went to a little school called Oak Hills Christian College of Bemidji, Minnesota, and got her bachelor's degree, and then was married and has a child, and she is working for her native corporation in Anchorage, Alaska, in mental health with the people of her tribe. Yeah. It's another story of second chances. It's another story of how Christ has made the difference in so many of our students' lives. We just have to be available and we have to be there. When you guys decided in 2007 to build New Hope Counseling Center and raise the money, and I'll mention Roger Eichenberry is a part of that as well, grateful for his legacy. We had no idea the impact that would have on the lives of our students to get the help they need to be able to graduate and go back and be actually somewhat cognizant of their need for Christ, because we pray with those students when they're in counseling as well. Beautiful ministry. And then a couple of years ago, Richard was up and he says, when are we building an addition? Like, well, we don't know. And next thing I know, we're building a new addition and we got enough money. I'm sure we have enough money. He'll pay for the rest, he said. And then we're building it right now and going to wrap it up. This summer, we hope. Maybe in this fall, we'll have to finish it up with the team from Muskegon. Dick's going to lead a team. Where's Dick? Dick's going to lead a team, he said. Yeah. So I don't know what the Lord is doing, but we're on a road to 25 right now. We're at 23 years. We're on the road to 25. And some big things are going to happen at 25 years. Number one is I've been writing the book of ACC's miracle stories since before it began. I journal, and I have all the journals. Now, they've been handwritten. They've all been put on the computer, and I'm editing them. I'm at 2004 right now. I've got a lot of years to go. But I'm editing that, and someone's going to ghostwrite, we hope, the story of Alaska Christian College with pictures. It's going to be an amazing, amazing book. For those of you that have been there, you're going to want to read it. It'd be really fun. The second thing we're doing is we're going to have an alumni reunion of alumni reunions. We're going to invite all 800 students, by that time maybe 900 students, back to campus, and staff and prior staff for the biggest reunion you can think of. And then we're going to have this major dinner up in Anchorage with all of our Anchorage churches that support us and individuals, and do a big dinner up there at 25. And then I'm going to hit the road and I'm going to do a 25th year, kind of like a thank you tour. And I'm going to come back to churches that have been a part of ACC's progress. And I'm going to invite those churches, individuals, to not give to the students specifically like we usually do, but we're en route now for an endowment. We want to have $5 million in an endowment by the year 2025. And we're at about 3.2 million right now. That is what we're going to use to give scholarships to students out of the endowment. But we got to get to 5 million first. And so if you have $5 million, if you take 5% off of that, that's $250,000 a year to student scholarships. Last year we gave away $280,000. We're pretty close. So we want to get that endowment to 5 million. That'll be probably my 25th year tour that year. Pretty excited about that coming together. We call it the Trail to 25 Years and Beyond. There's a picture of a musher and a big set of dogs pulling them through the forest. It's a pretty cool picture. So you'll hear more about that as it comes down the road. But that's kind of a little bit of the future coming up. But I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to invite Nathan to come on up. And we're going to take questions. He can answer them or I can answer them.